Welcome to Seeds of Thought. Today I want to discuss how your mind is losing pressure, and it's costing you more than you realize. There is a kind of failure most people never notice while it's happening. No crisis, no collapse, no dramatic breaking point, just a gradual weakening. You don't feel negative. You feel less solid than you used to. You hesitate more. You abandon things quietly. You feel tired after doing very little. You know what to do, but don't feel anchored enough to do it. And the most frustrating part? You can't explain what's wrong. From the outside, your life looks functional, but internally, something feels loose. Like your grip on yourself isn't as firm as it once was. This is happening to millions of people right now, not because they're incapable, but because their mind is leaking power. Most people assume mental strength is about confidence. It's not. Confidence is an outcome. Mental strength is the ability to hold internal pressure without collapsing. And pressure comes from decisions, uncertainty, responsibility, delayed results, silence. When the mind can't contain pressure, it looks for relief. That relief shows up as distraction, second-guessing, unnecessary research, emotional withdrawal, mental bargaining. This is why people quit before things get hard. The system gives way early, not because the task is too big, but because the container is weak. So here's the core problem of uncontained thought. Your mind was never meant to be an open field, yet most people treat it like one. Every thought that appears is allowed to stay. Every emotion gets attention. Every memory gets replayed. Every fear gets airtime. Nothing is filtered. Nothing is contained. So the mind becomes crowded, not loud, but diffuse. Scattered attention, fragmented intention, reduced follow-through. This is why people say things like, "I don't feel like myself. I can't lock in. I lose momentum fast." They're not broken. They're mentally unsecured. So when this happens, silence feels uncomfortable. Here's something most people never question. Why does stillness feel uncomfortable? Why does quiet make the mind restless? And here is the answer. An uncontained mind doesn't rest. It searches. When there are no boundaries, the mind fills space automatically, not with truth, with familiarity, past failures, imagined futures, unfinished conversations, low-grade anxiety. This is the vacuum, not emptiness, but unregulated space. And space without structure becomes invasion. This is one of the reasons why positive thinking fails. You try to replace doubt with optimism, but there's nothing holding the optimism in place. You try affirmations, but the system leaks before belief can settle. You try motivation, but motivation can't survive inside a mind without walls. This isn't about thinking better thoughts. It's about thinking within limits. So the real solution is sealing the system. Strong minds are not busy minds. They are contained minds. High-level performers do something most people never learn. They decide what thoughts are allowed to linger. They don't argue with every idea. They don't negotiate with every emotion. They don't entertain everything that appears. They set internal rules. Rules like, this thought gets 10 seconds, not 10 minutes. This emotion is acknowledged, not obeyed. This decision is final unless new evidence appears. Rules create containment. Containment creates pressure. Pressure creates power. So it's important to know what containment feels like. When the mind is sealed, focus feels heavier. Emotions pass without hijacking. Decisions stop wobbling. Silence becomes restorative. You don't feel hyped, you feel rooted. Effort stops evaporating. Progress starts stacking. You're no longer fighting your own head. And if this isn't addressed, here's what happens. You keep starting over. You keep losing trust in yourself. You keep lowering expectations quietly. You normalize inner weakness, not because you chose to, but because leakage feels normal when it lasts long enough. This is how capable people end up living smaller lives than they should. Most people are trying to change their life without ever securing their mind. That never works for long. So let's take a look at how to identify where your mind is leaking, how to create internal boundaries without suppression, and how to build mental pressure that holds under stress. Not motivation, containment. Because a mind that can't hold pressure will never hold success. So the solution is to seal the system. That means three things. 1. Reduce the number of active thoughts you allow. You are not required to entertain every thought that appears. Most people let thoughts linger out of habit, not usefulness. If a thought cannot be acted on today, it does not get extended attention. Acknowledge it, write it down if needed, then close it. This alone restores pressure. 2. Turn decisions into anchors. Unsealed decisions are one of the biggest leaks. When you keep revisiting choices, your mind never stabilizes. Here is the new rule that changes that. A decision is final unless new information appears, not new emotion. Emotion is noise. Information is signal. When decisions stop wobbling, pressure builds naturally. 3. Replace mental sprawl with one daily focus. Pressure forms when energy is concentrated. Choose one non-negotiable mental target per day. One task, one outcome, one conversation, one internal standard. When the mind knows what matters today, it stops scattering. When these changes are applied, you'll notice less internal debate, fewer emotional swings, faster recovery after stress, a return of quiet confidence. Not excitement, but stability. That's what pressure feels like when it's working. So here's the bigger truth. Most people don't struggle because they're incapable. They struggle because they never learned how to keep themselves internally sealed. Once pressure leaks long enough, weakness feels normal. But it isn't permanent. Pressure can be rebuilt, but only when the mind is treated like a system, not a suggestion box. If this isn't addressed, here's what happens. You keep starting over. You keep losing trust in yourself. You keep lowering expectations quietly. You normalize inner weakness. Not because you chose to, but because leakage feels normal when it lasts long enough. This is how capable people end up living smaller lives than they should. Most people are trying to change their life without ever securing their mind. That never works for long, because a mind that can't hold pressure will never hold success. The moment you stop trying to feel better and start sealing the system, the weakness evaporates. You aren't just changing your habits. You are building a container that can finally hold the weight of your potential. Pressure isn't your enemy. It is the proof that your system is finally working.